I mean, this is your boy Tato Nation here, aka TN Rama, and today, I'm actually going to show you guys a video of a young man called Dougie Corrado. I believe I'm pronouncing his name properly. Um, in search of YouTube with everything that's going on with Diddy and all that stuff, a lot of videos have been popping up with what's going on. But one video specifically caught my attention. Um, I have I have been doing a lot of research privately on my own of a lot of weird things with like societies and things of that nature and people who believe in this kind of things or people have been through this kind of stuff and things of that, things like that. Um, and I've been noticing that even my phone has been completely acting weird. Sometimes my phone would just completely black out on screen. Mind you, I have a brand new phone technically. This phone is only like I would say 4 months old. Honestly, it's 4 months old. So it's not like it's an old phone, and it's one of the newest versions of the Android that has come out. Um, so at the end of the day, I've been noticing a lot of weird things with my phone in particular, also, especially since I use my phone for all my researches and things of that nature. Um, the other day, I think it was like around, I would say about 3:16 or 3:20 in the morning. I woke up and I was feeling uneasy, stomach ache, and things of that nature. And since I'm a dialysis patient, to me, this is kind of a normal thing in an overall. Like sometimes I just don't feel good because dialysis is after effects do a lot of work on me. But in um in prior to that uneasy settlement feeling, there's a different feeling that we as people go through. There's we don't feel good because our body doesn't feel well, and then there's the other form, like something just feels weird and not because of our health. So that's what it was. I woke up around 3:16 or 3:20, and I specifically remember the time on this because of the fact that this is another thing. I've been researching a lot as well as into what does it mean to wake up around this time and blah blah. And then I do find a lot of things like it's God trying to send you messages, and it's also I've also found things of like that the devil's fucking with me. So, and I apologize for the cursing. I know that usually it's not a good thing, especially you're posting videos, but overall, I jumped on my phone to just jump on YouTube or jump on TikTok, things of that nature, and my phone completely just stopped working. Like it screen just blacked out, and it started to make this really weird noise, like the TV static noise in a way, and I was confused as hell as into why it was doing it. But it made me feel uncomfortable. Like just the sound alone kind of like creeped me out in a way. So I said, fuck this, I'm turning off my phone. So I turned off my phone. Um, and that's not the only thing. So there's just been other things that I've been feeling a little weird on. So, regardless, the reason why I'm making this video is because of the fact that I saw this video of this young man, and he was talking about a party that he's been through, and the unsettledness that he dealt with afterwards and everything. And these are things that I've been also trying to cover on in comments and things like that with the Ryan Garcia stuff, and all the other celebrities coming out talking about these parties that they're invited to and things of that. Like I see videos like this and I comment, and I say certain things as in like, They're excuse me, they're an organization that genuinely wants to just do evil in this world. And it's bad enough that now we're also having the whole thing with the Nickelodeon and all this other stuff. It's just, it's coming to light, and we are officially in this very strong spiritual war going on, and people are not taking this serious. People are just like, oh, this is just, part of the hoax that's going on, and blah blah blah. you know we need to start actually taking these things very serious and stop just brushing people off as they're crazy, because they're not. These things are really happening, and the sad thing is that it's more evil right now than it is good, and this is why these people are getting away with it. But um I am going to put this video up of this young man telling his story. Now, it is really long, as you can see. It is 32 minutes and 40 seconds. So I'm hoping that it uploads to my YouTube channel, and I hope that I can upload it on my TikTok as well. So I just want you guys to hear his story, and let me know what you think, in the comment section below. You know, I'm always down to hear what people or other people are gonna say or believe in. But he has three of these videos up, and I'm going to try to cover all three of them as best as I possibly can. So, without further ado, I am going to put the video on, and I hope you guys can hear it as clear as day. Okay. All right. Enjoy enjoy the video.
Scary stories told in the first person, you're on the right channel. I encourage you to like and subscribe if you want, right? It helps me. If it helps me, it helps you. The more it helps me, the more stories I can get to you. So liking and subscribing, just absolutely backflip onto that subscribe button if you don't mind. This story I dropped a few months ago, and it didn't get any traction when I initially started dropping it. And then it started to blow up on Facebook a month later after I had already abandoned it and moved on. But a lot of people demanded another part, so this is going to be the full story of the society with an extra part at the end. I'm so happy people have started enjoying this. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the show. So this story is the reason I stopped making content for 5 years. You guys remember when all those Vine stars and skit Instagrammers moved to LA in like 2015-ish? So I wasn't a huge creator at the time, but I was there and around it all as all of that stuff was happening. I moved from Chicago to LA 3 weeks after high school with like $2,000 in my pocket that I saved up working at Steak and Shake with this other aspiring creator named David. I was much more into editing and being behind the camera at that time, and he was much more into Vine and vlogs and being on camera. That time of our lives was absolutely crazy. Everybody was broke, posting anything we could onto YouTube to get some attention. I happened to get a spot at the now notorious 1600 Vine Apartments, and David got a spot a little bit closer to USC. Everyone was collaborating with everyone, and it was the era of clickbait YouTube. And to be honest, it was extremely fun for the first few months, until Hollywood started to notice that influencers were the next big thing, and that the landscape of the industry was changing. And we started to get invited to more exclusive parties and events, where it seemed as if old Hollywood was almost grooming new Hollywood. And there was rumors of this one gathering that was happening on a monthly basis, where it seemed like anybody that got invited saw a massive jump in their numbers, secured huge brand deals right after attending. But apparently this gathering worked on a buddy system. Someone had to vouch for you and bring you as a guest. And by blind luck, me and David ended up getting invited. Some talent agents saw me and David shoot a silly skit at a random party. He didn't invite us that second, he just told us that he saw something special in us and took our contact information. And listen, people do that all the time in LA, but this guy had a different feel to him. He wasn't trying to convince us he had connections or hype himself up like everybody else does. He was just super calm and had a sharp way of speaking that demanded respect. He was extremely brief, and after getting our numbers, he just said, "Look out for the invite," and walked away. And this is where it gets weird. I never gave this guy my address, I only gave him my number. But I ended up getting an invitation by letter. And at the time, I thought that that was so cool. But in retrospect, as an adult looking back at it, that alone was a huge violation of privacy and a major red flag. But at the time, when I tell you, I was absolutely buzzing with excitement. When I got it, the letter was so extravagant and detailed. It was gold with black and red lettering that read something like, "Your talents have been noted, your name has been endorsed, and I'll never forget this part. The dreams you have been chasing are a night away through the 7th seventh heaven. And the address was a beautiful home in Laurel Canyon that was set to happen that weekend. It also noted to not be a minute late and not to expect to leave before midnight. And at the time, it felt like the Willy Wonka golden ticket. And the excitement doubled when I got a text from David at the same time, in all caps saying, "Did you get one too?" I felt like our lives were about to change. And I was right. David blew up after this party, and I had to go into hiding. I felt like our lives were about to change. And I was right. David blew up after this party, and I had to go into hiding. When I tell you I was on cloud nine leading up to that party, I mean it. I was so young and naive and delusionally optimistic. I truly believed that I was going to go to this party and leave rich, because it literally seemed like that was happening to the creators around me that attended. I was hyped. I've never been a braggy person, but when you're young and excited, you get consumed by good news and want to talk to your friends and peers about it. So everybody that I chatted with who I knew was a content creator and was in the know about this party, I couldn't help but to tell them. And all the feedback was positive and along the lines of, "Let me know how it goes," or "Can you try to get me into the next one?" And even some from bigger creators saying, "I'll see you there," with like a little smirk on their face. Like they were pumped for me. Except for one conversation with a creator that most of you probably know. This creator is an extremely positive guy, and he's one of the most wholesome, bubbly, genuine guys I met out there. And when I told him the good news,
what would it be like if you couldn't just come to a game and drop hundreds of dollars, turn all the cards right away? So we explicitly prevented that in Marvel Snap. You can't just come day one and buy as many boosters as you want to get all the cards in the game. Instead, we wanted to make it a fun journey where you're slowly experiencing new cards and earning them over time. You can speed up the process by spending money, but you can't shortcut it. You have to collect all the cards by putting in the work and playing games and earning boosters and upgrading your cards to unlock new ones. It's such a fun, fresh experience that feels so different than any other card game.
And when I told him the good news, he looked at me like I told him a tsunami was headed towards the building. The usual joy that this man brought to every conversation turned into real fear and concern. And he made me leave the lobby and come up to his apartment before explaining anything to me. Like he was scared that somebody was going to overhear our conversation. When we got up to his apartment, he was just pacing. Like he had no idea how to start this conversation. But when he finally spoke up, all he said was, "Listen, Doug, I know you're excited, but I'm begging you, please do not go. That man is not who you think he is." He was being so frantic, and I could see tears welling up in this guy's eyes. But I was young, and I thought that I knew everything. I didn't even think the talent agent that sent us the invite was important. I was interested in the connections, and I didn't really care if the talent agent was shady, or if his intention was to sign me to a bad deal. I thought I'd just say no to any bad contract that he tried to send me, but still get to reap all the benefits of the party. So I tried to pry a little bit and ask follow-up questions, but all he gave me was, "I have a friend who went, and he hasn't been the same since he didn't cooperate. I don't know what he saw or what they did to him, but Doug, I do not want to see that happen to you. I don't know what he saw or what they did to him, but Doug, I do not want to see that happen to you." I start reassuring him that they won't make me do anything that I don't want to do. I don't even drink, let alone take any party favors. So peer pressure isn't much of an issue for me. I make up a lie to get out of the situation, because to be honest, I selfishly wanted to stay excited about this party, and I really didn't want to hear anything negative about it. So I jokingly told him that I'd text him when I got home, and that I had to leave to edit some videos tonight. What I was really doing was calling my dad to beg him for $100 to buy a rental suit. Mind you, we were all still poor, and I was living in an apartment that I could barely afford. My dad reluctantly sent me the money, and I immediately texted David to pick me up tomorrow at 5 p.m. so we could both get our suits before the party, and grab food before we head to the party at 11. When David picked me up the next day, he was so excited and in such a great mood that I had to hide my concerns from him, at least while we were shopping for the rental suits. I had to manufacture excitement because David always has his camera out, and I wouldn't just be spoiling the mood, I would be ruining the content that he was trying to record. So I went along with it throughout the shopping process. Our plan was to drop his car off at my apartment, walk to the In-N-Out Burger on Sunset Boulevard, eat, and then change into our suits in the bathroom and hop into the Uber, so we didn't smell like burgers. When we finally sat down to eat, I took that opportunity to bring up the warning that my friend gave me the day before in his apartment. I told him everything that he said to me, and how scared he looked when he said it, and that I was feeling a little bit worried about going to this party. David cut me off before I even got to finish my sentence, and firmly said we're going, and then went on a rant about how my friend is a jealous clout chaser, and that he's just salty that his content isn't good enough, and would never be invited to something like this. He said it in a half-serious, half-joking tone like he always does when he wants to get his way. Then he finished off by guilting me and saying, "Doug, don't ruin this opportunity for us. Please just get through this party for me." I'd never heard anybody talk about my friend that way, but I'd known David for so much longer, so I trusted his judgment. So I nodded my head and called the Uber. We changed in the bathrooms and hopped into the Uber, and David starts recording again, so I have to pretend to be excited again. But once we got off the side streets and started driving up Laurel Canyon, I started getting anxious and internally panicking. If you're not familiar with Laurel Canyon, it's filled with beautiful homes, but at night it's extremely dark and borderline freaky, especially when you consider all the history with the Manson murders in that area. Part of me feels like we're dropping ourselves off into a setup, but once we arrive, all of my worries get washed away. We pull into the driveway, and this house is...
I'm sorry. Can't do anything about the ads.
All of my worries get washed away. We pull into the driveway and this house is beautiful and extravagant. And everyone waiting in line to walk in is smiling and laughing and friendly. So I get excited again. At the door, they take our phones and have us sign an NDA, which isn't uncommon in house parties like this in LA. And they give us a mask and a name tag with funny aliases. My mask looked like a bear and David's looked like a bird. My alias was Stardust, which David got a crack out of. And his was Benji. We enter what you could call like the lobby of the house. And as we're walking in, the apparent host of the party starts giving a speech. This man is very eccentric and outspoken, and he's got the cadence of a late night show host. And I spot the agent that invited us standing right behind him. The speech was basically just encouraging everybody to have fun and explaining the itinerary of the night. Apparently this was a themed room party, and all of the guests were instructed to move to the next room whenever the grandfather clock chimed. He wrapped up his speech with some cheeky joke, and then one line that still irks me to this day. He said, "Have fun now. Our descent starts at midnight." I tried to give David the eyes that I didn't like where this party was going. This type of behavior from people that I saw as adults made me extremely uncomfortable. The moment the host wrapped up his speech, a couple of workers came out of the doorway. They were holding a couple sets of long poles. All of a sudden, music started playing and everybody seemed like they knew what was going on. So I just went along with it. So I guess these parties start off with a big game of limbo. It's funny seeing people dressed so nicely playing a silly child's game, but it's even weirder seeing A-list celebrities being so excited to play. Because everybody had masks on, but when somebody that you grew up watching in movies walks by you with...
Okay, so as you guys can see, he's specifically saying a bunch of A-list celebrities, and they were acting like a bunch of kids. So, from the description of what he's saying of the area and how it looked and where this place might have been, like, it already just sounds like a little creepy, in my opinion. And it just sounds a little off immediately to me personally. So I can only imagine what he might have felt, arriving and whatnot.
the quarter of their face covered, you still know it's them. I was amazed with how inviting and willing to introduce themselves these people were. I was expecting at least an undertone of uppityness in there, but it seemed like everybody was involving everybody in conversation, and they were frequently introducing themselves to me with their alias, of course. The only thing weird about it was something that I didn't notice until the third person did it. When they shook my hand, they pressed their thumb into the soft part between my thumb and my pointer finger, and I only recognized the pattern because the third guy gave me a big smile and said, "This must be your first time here." In retrospect, this should have alarmed me, but it seemed like they got friendlier when they realized that it was my first time here, so I didn't really think anything of it. But before I got to ask any follow-up questions about this odd handshake, the first grandfather clock chime went off, and everybody excitedly rushed into the second room. When I finally got in there, I was taken aback by the dramatic decor change. Everything in this room was different shades of blue. The music was romantic, and all the furniture was cabana beds and love
Interesting.
seats. I stood there for a second trying to realize what was different, but I couldn't put my finger on it until some girl walked by and caressed my shoulder in a really flirty manner. The decor changed, but the way everybody was acting was drastically different. Before, everybody seemed to be outgoing and inviting and friendly, but the second they stepped foot into this room, they became touchy, flirty, and suggestive. I was only 19 at the time, so this type of behavior from people that I saw as adults made me extremely uncomfortable. Especially when I saw that the cabana beds had curtains that you could close for privacy. And I realized that these people weren't just being suggestive, they meant it. I tried to give David the eyes that I didn't like where this party was going, but he seemed to be really enjoying the female attention, so I was on my own. I basically stayed in perpetual motion and walked laps until the next chime went off, so I didn't have to sit next to anybody for too long and let them get too comfortable. The clock finally went off and everybody rushed to the next room immediately. The weirdest part was the people that were in the private sections didn't even bother redressing except for the mask. I was in no rush to get to the next room, but I could see into it over the crowd of everybody's head. The walls were bright orange, but the smells that were wafting in from that room were amazing. And when I finally got in there, it was like the Hogwarts feast. It was table after table of the most delicious spreads I've ever seen. There was full tables for seafood, full tables for meats, full tables of sushi, and an entire wall of spirits. I almost started enjoying myself again. Until I saw the way these people were treating this food. They were disrespectfully biting chunks out of delicious prime rib roasts. They were just shoving copious amounts of high-grade sashimi into their mouths and eating caviar like it was cereal. The way that they were just grabbing with their hands and just spitting out things that they didn't like onto the floor ruined my appetite. At this point, I wanted nothing to do with these people. So I went up to the only familiar face in the room. The agent that invited me was the only other person not eating. So I approached him and lifted up my mask, so he'd recognize me considering we'd only met one time. Before I even got out my greeting or got my mask halfway off my face, he abruptly pressed my mask back into place and sharply said, "Mask stay on till the 6th room." He did it in a way that seemed like I was embarrassing him for not knowing the rules. So to ease the tension, I jokingly replied, "So we're only halfway there, huh?" He didn't laugh or make eye contact. He just dismissively replied,
Meet Oboro, the chaos spreader, inspired by feudal Japan's ancient tradition and myth.
Sorry.
He just dismissively replied, "I encourage you to engage in the festivities. A slow drip is better than a flood." He started to walk towards the door as the clock chimed, for the next room like he knew it was about to go off. I didn't like that interaction at all. He's the one that invited me here, and he seemed to have...
Alright, so I was just about to say the same thing. That line that he said to him, like, I encourage you to engage in the activities. It's like it sounds like somebody's just like a bad influence person trying to get you to do something wrong. Like that line alone just doesn't sound right. And as you can see, he clearly says it himself that he didn't appreciate the interaction, in general.
no interest in talking to me. I just kept going over what he said the entire time while we were in the next room. This room was yellow and basically just a casino. I wanted to talk to David privately and let him know that I wanted to leave, but he seemed to just be caught up in the momentum of the party. Plus, there was a roulette table in the room, and David's freakishly good at roulette. So at this point, the winning streak that he's building is the center point of the party. I can't fully focus on what the agent said to me because I have to pretend to be excited about David's winning streak in a fake casino where you're not actually winning money. And like clockwork, the chime goes off. The entire party starts rushing to the next room again, and the vibe changes dramatically. I'm the last person to walk into the bright red room. This room didn't seem to have a specific activity like the others. It was just empty and bright red, and everybody was whispering to each other. For a split second, I thought it might be a big game of telephone or something silly like that, but as I started walking through and brushing shoulders with these people and hearing what they were saying to each other, I started questioning everything. The same people that I saw laughing and celebrating and eating together were whispering the most heinous, offensive comments directly to each other. I mean things that you wouldn't even say behind your friend's back, they were saying it to their face. I'm talking friendship-ending secrets and personal opinions about each other laced with envy and jealousy. I hurried to a quiet corner because I was sick of hearing everybody's dirty laundry after walking around for a minute and a half, and it all clicked. I knew exactly what this party was. I see the host ask the first person in line a question before having them repeat something that he said. When I tell you I am done with this party, I'm absolutely not doing that. All the dots start connecting in my head while everybody's being horrible to each other around me. I'm trying to recap the whole night and remember the order of each room to solidify my suspicions, but the chime for the next room goes off. This time, everybody gets eerily quiet and calm, like they got all of their venom out. The host of the party announces for all of the newcomers to come to the front. All of the attendees...
All right, sorry, I keep pausing. So I just want to add a little something to this. So it sounds to me like the red room that he's specifically speaking about is more like they're going to let out all their jealousy and animosity towards one another. Like it's not a big deal. It sounds like each room has this like like a gluttony kind of way of things, like the whole food thing, like they were just ODing on things, not respecting the food and just like being slobs. And then the flirtiness, which is like considered a sin to be like to be like so, how do I say it? I believe it's considered a sin like that, to be so like flirtatious and things of that nature. Like the lust is what I meant. Like it's a sin to be so lustful. And that room where they were being so flirty, it just sounds like a bunch of, I don't know, like really like sinful rooms. All of them, they all just sound like a bunch of sinful rooms, and they represent, like, I would say, the seven deadly sins. That's what I'm taking out of it. I don't don't quote me on it or anything like that. It's just the way I feel of it when he describes the rooms. I genuinely feel like the seven deadly sins. That's what comes into my head. I don't know what comes into yours.
Form a single file line in front of the next room's door. There's about 10 other newcomers in front of me and David, and the agent that invited us is standing to the left of the door, and the host of the party is standing to the right. The host has a pile of books on the table next to him. I see the host ask the first person in line a question and then grab a book based on his answer. He would present the book to the person and place a diamond-shaped metal symbol on top of it before having them repeat something that he said. Then he'd take their mask off and let them enter the next room. I couldn't make out exactly what he was doing until there was only 2 people ahead of me in line. The books were Bibles, Qurans, Torahs, and so on. He would ask the person, "And which one is yours?" Whichever they chose, he'd grab it and place the metal symbol on top of it. He'd have you put your hand on top of the metal symbol and then repeat, "I am my own God. I bow to nobody but myself." When I tell you I am done with this party, and I whip my head around and I tell David I am absolutely not doing that.
Let's play this or that to build your team. You have to give one justification for each of your choices.
Not doing that.
Okay. All right. So maybe I might be a little right. I'm not sure still, but that whole like I am my own God and I bow to no one but myself. Basically, they are trying to get rid of your faith and your belief in whatever it is that you believe in. Who I believe in God, um, they basically would try to get me to like lose my faith in God, and that's not happening. Like I would never say something like that in general, especially not when I do believe in God. And saying that is basically you acknowledging that He is nothing to you, when in reality, to me, He is. So yeah, I think I might be right. Maybe this sounds like like seven rooms, seven deadly sins, and you basically casting away your belief in God. That's what I'm assuming.
David whispered back in a joking tone like he always does. "Dude, it's just a party. Who cares? I'll see you in the next room." And he skipped me in line to show me that he'd do it first to make me feel more comfortable. He went through with it and giggled his way into the next room. It was my turn, so I tried to play it cool and whisper to the host, "Do you mind if I skip this part? It's making me a little bit uncomfortable." I thought he'd subtly break character and reassure me that this is just a party theme and it's all good. Instead, he whispered back to me in a really kind tone, "Of course, man, don't worry about it. Just take your mask off and turn around." I was relieved for about a split second before the agent that invited me here grabbed my arm and started guiding me towards the exit. And I see that everybody that was behind me in line is staring at me straight-faced. I look back at the host and he's standing up and loudly shouts like he's starting a chant. The price was not paid. And then everybody in line that was staring at me chants in unison like they knew exactly what to do. "Remove the profane." And they repeat it over and over until I'm through the exit door. "The price was not paid. Remove the profane. The price was not paid. Remove the profane."
All right, so I believe that the price might have been this young man's soul. I believe that him selling his soul for fame and fortune was the price. But because he refused to he refused to give up his belief towards God and keep his dignity still, because basically, he chose like, this is not okay, this is not what I'm gonna do, and I don't want to do it. um these kind of like parties, you don't pay with money. That's what I believe. You don't pay with money. And this kind of sounds like what most of these Hollywood celebrities are doing. They're selling their soul for fortune and fame. For fortune and fame. And they don't seem to realize the consequences of doing that. So I can only assume that this just might get worse for him.
So the agent just walks me to the closest door. He doesn't even walk me to the front of the party and out the front door. He just puts me out into the backyard. It's 4 a.m. My friend's still inside. I don't have my phone. So I decide to walk around the right side of the house because that's where all of the party attendees were kind of headed. Let me see if I could peek in and maybe flag down David to let him know I got kicked out. And there's some windows to the next room. But of course, these windows are like big church stained glass windows. And you can't really see through stained glass windows like the colored ones. But if you go really, really close and you look through the white parts, you could kind of see see clearly what is on the inside. And this room is like a bizarre church replica without all of the seating. It's just a big church-like room. And all of the people that were in there had their masks off. And it was like a big circle, and it almost looked like an initiation. And all of these celebrities are standing around in a circle around the other 9 new people. It was 10 excluding me. And there was big TV grade cameras recording, and it looked like the group of celebrities and everybody else that was there was kind of cheering them on. But then there was clearly people in there that were much more serious and kind of threatening, and the 10 new people were in the middle of this room being forced to do horrible things that I wish I could unsee. And the new people clearly didn't want to do these things. They were being forced to do these things. And they were clearly recording it. And I see my friend being forced to do these horrible things in front of these people and in front of these cameras. I just start panicking. I don't know what to do. So in my head, I'm like, I just need to get out of here. So I start speed walking to the front of the house. And I'm thinking, I need to get out of this gate. There's only one street. We're on Laurel Canyon. So it's either I go left and start running towards Studio City, or I go right and start running towards West Hollywood. I'm not about to go knock on other people's doors. I'm just trying to get back to civilization. And I'm trying to remember if we're closer to Studio City or if we're closer to West Hollywood. I don't even know. As I get to the front of the house, one of the employees is standing there, and he's standing in front of a car, and he has my phone. I'm not sure if he knows that I just saw everything, so I'm kind of standing there deer in headlights, but he just politely goes, here's your phone and here's your ride. Don't worry, the driver will take you home. So I take my phone and I sit in the car, and I'm trying to gauge to see if this driver has any malicious intent, but he doesn't seem to. And within the first 3 minutes, I know that they don't think I saw anything. They were just getting my stuff prepared and my car prepared to take me home, because they're under the impression that I didn't see anything too bad, and I got kicked out before any horrible things started happening to people inside of this party. So I get in the car and I'm checking my phone. My phone was fully charged when I got here, so I don't know what they did, but my phone won't turn on. I have to sit through this 30-minute car ride. One of my best friends is back at this.
All right, so his phone won't turn on. His phone's probably acting weird. Most likely, while they were in the party, somebody was probably going through his phone. Because these kind of organizations don't have like regular people. Like, they obviously have hackers and things of that nature, that are very high skill professionals at what they do. So most likely they hacked his phone, to keep an eye on him, especially since he didn't want to do the last part. That gives them enough time to just continue doing whatever the hell they want with his phone. Okay, sorry.
Party getting mistreated and recorded doing horrible things, and I can't tell anybody. So I get through this 30-minute horrible suspense-filled car ride thinking about all of the people that were so nice to me inside of this party, and the whole intent of this party was to butter me up to get me to do these horrible things. And when I finally get back to my apartment, I run upstairs, I plug my phone into the charger, and the first texts that come through are from my friend Joe. And I completely forgot that my friend Joe was coming to visit me. He was coming on a little mini vacation, and I was going to play tour guide and show him around the city. So now I'm thinking I only have like 4.5 hours to sleep before I have to go pick up my friend from the airport, and I still don't know if my other friend is okay. So I'm blowing up David's phone because he's still at this party, but I set a timer so I get to the airport to pick up my other friend. So I barely get any sleep. I drive to LAX to go pick up Joe, and I drive him back to my apartment, and when I'm coming back into my apartment...
Hey, what's up? You want to try this game I helped make?
These ads.
Think fast. Oh, wow.
So I barely get any sleep. I drive to LAX to go pick up Joe, and I drive him back to my apartment, and when I'm coming back into my apartment, David's in the lobby, and he's talking to some other big creators, like bouncing video ideas. It's like 9:30, 10 a.m. at this point, so everybody's just kind of having...
All right, so I'm gonna cut the video here only because it's 30 minutes and some change. I don't want to like overdo it. But in more to the video, he just goes on explaining basically in how things were being changed around his house. They would say specific things, and then those specific things will appear in his refrigerator. They ended up changing the doorknob on his hotel room and things of that nature, his car and stuff like that. Like little things that only he would have noticed. And he tried very hard not to bring it up to his friend because his friend was there on vacation, but he didn't want to worry his friend. But things were happening a lot around him that only he would notice the difference in, things of that nature. So he has a few other videos that I also want to upload. in conclusion of that, because it's like I think a five part storytell, but I think this is a very interesting thing because he spoke about this way before all these allegations of dating and things of that nature. So now that more people are coming out about it, um, I I want to, you know, put up on it so that people are more aware. Because the thing is, we have an issue in our country. Like, nobody wants to listen to an average Joe. Okay? Everybody wants to sit there and just, claim that the average Joe is just being, paranoid or crazy or blah blah blah, like this and that, like things like this don't really happen. Like, no, things like this do happen. Okay? And it's not until a big celebrity says something that people want to take it serious. Jim Carrey has been warning us for a long time. He's been saying things like this, and everybody just, single-handedly put him to the side, called him crazy, you know, and then now it's normal. Cat Williams has been saying this for a long time too, and then what? They sat him and called him crazy. Kanye West, same thing. They called him crazy. Every time any celebrity speaks out the truth and tells you what it is, this is what they do. They sit there and they make them sound crazy, because who's going to listen to a crazy person? It's easier to dismiss them and make them sound crazy than to sit there and come out publicly and threaten them and say anything to them. So, yes, these things happen, and we need to accept it and try to do things to stop this. And the best way to do this is exposing them. Whenever anyone brings this up, just expose them. Then eventually names will start coming out. And I mean, let's be real, you look at certain people, certain, like, celebrities. By people I mean celebrities, but you look at certain celebrities, you can tell some of them are fishy. Okay, it doesn't take a lot to realize who's the fishy one and who's not. Now, if you are a person that you don't want to know about this kind of stuff, then that's fine. You're entitled not to know about this kind of stuff. You can ignore it all you want, but ignoring it does not help everyone. Ignoring it makes it worse, and ignoring it allows them to continue to do what they're doing, which is why we have to put them on blast. Okay? So, all right. So I'm going to cut this video and I'm going to find part two. If you want me to post part two, please, by all means, write down in the comment section below that you guys would like to hear part two. Okay? Thank you very much, and you have a good day.